Okay, so I was online and I saw this story about this girl, this couple, right? A cute couple, and I think they were married. And so she said that one of the things that helped her reach her financial goals was that he allowed her to live in the place that they lived rent free. She didn't have to pay no rent. She didn't have to pay bills. And so she was able to put all her money and all her energy into her goals, paying off her student loan debt and all of that. And then she said, and then I flipped the script and I did the same thing for him. He didn't have to pay rent. He didn't have to pay bills. He didn't have to do anything. And he didn't ask me to pay him back from when he did that for me. And I did the same thing for him. So now he gets to achieve his goals or whatever it is that he needs to do. And I just found it interesting. I think they were married, because really the dynamics of that whole thing would be very different if they weren't married. But I want to say they were married, and that's what kind of caught me off guard, just the different language that was being used. So I told Myra, I was like, we need to shoot a video about this, because we do our finances differently, and the sun is of course rising, and it doesn't make it bad. It doesn't make what they were doing bad. It doesn't make what we're doing better. It's just different. Like, different don't mean bad or better. But I think finances is one thing for some reason people do not pull the curtain behind, especially married couples. So I was like, okay, we need to talk through how we do our finances together, just in case somebody needs some tips or tricks, like, or maybe especially if this is the area that you're struggling in, maybe in debt or need more finances. So we're going to kind of break it down, what we do, and we'll talk through it. So first we'll tell you how we do our finances, and then we'll break down like 5 tips of the why, like the kind of the psychology behind it, and then we'll go from there. So how do we do our finances? I'm more of the numbers person, and it's interesting because I think in a lot of marriages the man does the finances. Well, I don't know, a lot of my
I've heard both.
I think it's getting different. It's different now.
Yeah.
Because I think back in the day it was like the man pays the bills, and the man like should not let the woman see any numbers, and she shouldn't be stressed. I remember hearing that and being stressed by the thought of that happening. Like, if you had all the money.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And I never knew, like, because that doesn't work for me. For some women, they feel like being covered by their husband means that he never shares with them when there's a financial hurdle, like struggle.
Or even if it's not a struggle, like anything.
Yeah, like, that's weird to me. Like, so for either of us to have that type of control to where the other person knows nothing, that would be weird. Now, I think most people are not on that anymore. But anyways, so I usually write down all of our bills. Y'all seen it. I've done a video of it before. I write down all of our bills, and then we have a main account where we take out where all of our bills come out of. I have a personal account. You have a personal account. And my account is like groceries, usually gas, because I order the groceries, and then if we have allowance, then I have that. And then for yours, we used to do date night, because we haven't done that in a while, but we haven't budgeted for date night in a while. But date night, what else you do?
I mean, my
gas or any and things like that. So what we both have to pay for is in our individual accounts. So that's how we do it. Did I leave anything out? If there's any debt, we'll put down the debt. Both of our debt combined. I think that was what was odd, is like, she was like, yeah, he didn't make me pay it back. I'm like, the thought of Myra saying, I'm gonna loan you this, that's weird to me.
Yeah, I never thought that.
Or me saying, I'm gonna loan you this $200, but I need my $200 back. Could you imagine? I just, that.
Well, people do that though.
That's normal?
Yeah.
In a marriage?
Yeah.
We don't do it like that.
We don't, but I mean.
No, that's helpful.
I heard that.
That is, I mean, I just can't imagine you saying Venmo me $300 for your part of the electricity bill.
Yeah, people do that.
Okay, so that to me, it's just different thinking. It's just, that's indifferent. Don't mean wrong. I have to keep saying that. But this is the why behind our thinking. Because the reality is, yes, with both of us earning income, some bills do come from my account. But I think mindset is everything. It's never like, hey, the electricity, I paid the internet bill. Will you Venmo me $200?
Yeah, all right. I got my 200.
Yeah, like,
where your 200?
because it's a mindset thing. Yeah. Because when that 50-50 mindset will have you. Okay. So, number one reason why we do our finances together while we do it the way. And if y'all need me to kind of like go, because I know I ran through that really quickly how we do our finances, but if y'all need me to go through and break that down, let me know. But I think the number one reason is because when we first got married, we was broke. And so if we wrote it down, I think we got more out of our dollars, right?
Yeah, it was just nice to have it in front of you, you know, on paper versus just talking about it, you know what I mean?
Because stuff gets lost when you just talk about it. So that was the number one motivation. And then putting everything together, then we wouldn't lose track. Number two was like, it's similar, like to prevent confusion. You said this one, like, what did you have in mind behind that?
No, because it's like all laid out. So then we know, okay, this is what you brought in, this is what I brought in. All right, that's the total amount.
Yeah.
Then we're both on the same page versus like if we're not communicating about that or we don't know what's all in the same account, then I may have spent more money than I should have, or you may have spent more money than you should have,
and then you get in a lot of fights. Confusion causes a lot of fights where somebody wasn't having ill intentions. They just didn't know. Maybe they just didn't know. Car, sorry y'all, we're in the car. It is what it is. Number three, it keeps us goal oriented. I think this is my favorite thing, because when we see it all on paper and when we see it together, and then it keeps our goals together. We did a video of doing goals together as a couple. But when we see it on paper, we can think like, this is how much we got, this is how much our bills are, this is how much is left, or this is how much is lacking, so this is how much more we need to earn. And I like that as a married couple versus I got my own little goals over here and you got your own little goals over there. Like, I like that. So that's very helpful for me. Number four, it helps keep us honest and on the same team no matter who is the biggest earner. And I feel like that is a huge, huge thing. Okay, so this is a conversation we had in college before we even got married, was the money thing. Like, I remember asking him, if I did earn more money than you, would that bother you? Do you remember what you said then?
I said yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, how did you work through that? Because I feel like, is that your thought now? Like, if I earn more money than you, would it bother you?
Nah, I mean, because my value as a husband, as a man, isn't mostly dependent upon how much my income, you know what I mean? So I mean, like, that's big. I gotta be able to provide, right? But if you make double the amount I make, so be it. I mean, because I don't want to limit you. You know what I mean? So like, I still believe that regardless of what you make, I need to be able to provide.
Yeah.
Regardless of what you make.
Yeah.
So if you make triple the amount I make, but my amount still is able to provide and take care of us, I feel like I'm doing my duty.
That's true. That's a really good, I think that's a healthy way to look at it. Because I think a lot of couples get caught up in the whole, like, I'm the man, I'm supposed to provide. I think even women, like, he's supposed to be a provider. Yeah, but he's supposed to provide your needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Private school and
going on vacations,
multiple trips and stuff, that's not needs, and that's an unrealistic expectation and burden to put on a person. But yeah, like, I just think when our money's together, we have to stay honest. Like, it breaks my heart to know that certain people run up their spouse's, like, credit, or they have a hidden credit card. I'm like, what else are you hiding? Like, that's instantly what my thought goes to. Like, what else are you hiding?
Yeah. Because
I think that so many things people want to have together in a marriage, right? Like, oh, we sleep together, you know, we hang out together, this is my wife, like, da-da-da, but money's separate. Like, make that make sense. Like, to where, well, it, again, people choose to do money separate, but I'm challenging you just to, like, take your mindset here. Like, to connect your marriage even on a deeper level. Like, people's marriages that I really honor and that I really, they're just a great example. I noticed that even this area of their life is together. It's like, we won, right? Two became one in every other area except our finances. I think, and that's why I believe it's the easiest place for the enemy to sneak in and to rip marriages apart. Because that's the one part that we won't give to God. Not even your spouse, to give to God. Because I think when you give your finances to God, it's easier to bring your spouse in on that. You know what I mean?
The Bible talks about that. You know, your treasure, people put their pretty much their finances,
Yeah.
their treasure,
Where the heart is.
where their heart is.
Yep. So your heart ain't with your spouse if you're finding
I did not say that. But if your heart is with your healthy addictions, like,
what's a healthy addiction?
okay, not a drug. It could be like sports. So it could be food. Like, you know what I mean?
So if your heart is with
Okay, but say if you have a poor habit of spending too much money eating out, right? So that can create a rift. That's not necessarily a bad thing, spending money on food.
that's true.
But it's a problem if you lacking discipline in it.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's gonna create an issue with your spouse.
Mm-hmm.
Then I don't know. Healthy addiction may be the wrong
Yeah,
phrase.
but I feel what you're saying. Like something that's not necessarily harmful, but
Yeah.
it's something you enjoy.
Yeah.
But if all your money is going there, that's what makes it harmful because
Yeah.
you know,
or the lack of discipline in it.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
no boundaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that. No matter how much money either of us makes, like this is just the kind of the standard. Like we will do this together. We will be on the same page. We will not be hiding income or hiding, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think this is a reason why when people say, I don't know, the Lord's really been speaking to me about this. When people say like they get divorced because they grew apart, I think this is one area where people grow apart because someone will say, because I think I try to be gentle when I do these videos and think about it because I think we're blessed that we are on the same team.
Yeah.
And neither of us have an extreme difference. Like
Yeah.
we're different. Like we're opposites do attract. That is true. But we're both goal oriented and we're
Yeah.
both like we have a mission. When we have a mission, we want to both be a part of it and play our part as team players.
Yeah.
But because I feel like I'm the more of a spender in the marriage than you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you will drop more money on food than I would ever consider.
Oh, for sure.
I'm like, that is money
For
going
sure.
right down the drain. I will
No,
never
it's
see
not.
that
It's-
money
It's
again.
bringing joy.
Is it? I'm like, no, let me take that $30 and buy a lamp.
Yeah.
But when people are like, you don't understand, like my spouse is not disciplined. If I leave this money in the account, they're gonna blow through it. And my heart is with you because that will make me mad too. Like I'm trying to get traction, but you know, just running up the family credit
Yeah,
card.
but I mean, even that, it goes back to like pride and selfishness.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, cool, yeah, you want to go shopping every month, cool. But if you stick to your limit, all right, that we set,
Mm-hmm.
cool. But you going past that limit, you think about only yourself.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
whether that's food, whether that's entertainment.
Yeah. There's always a deeper issue.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
there's
yeah,
always
for sure, yeah.
like you need to ask yourself the why. Like, why am I doing this? Like, am I trying to buy somebody's approval, or someone, the friendship of somebody, or
Personal
some
insecurity.
or right? Like, what am I trying to feel?
Yeah.
But what I was saying is like when people grow apart, I think the issue is you get so desperate almost in the marriage, or so like maybe even hurt that you're like, I'm just gonna separate my money because I can't trust this person.
Yeah.
Boom. That starts the growing
Yeah,
apart
yeah.
because then you're like, I'm gonna stay disciplined. They obviously not
They
disciplined, so
not.
I'm just gonna hide my money from them because they not disciplined. My challenge to you is do the counseling, do the work,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
do the work to get them disciplined with you. Like
Yeah.
start practices, daily practice, or have the conversation like, hey, I know you struggle to be disciplined. Would it be helpful if I pulled this money from our joint account and kept it in my savings over here? Here's how you can still see how much we have. You know what I mean? But would it be helpful for you so that I can remove the swipe freedom from
Yeah.
you? You know what I mean?
Or even like we come up with an amount
yes.
you have to
Yes.
spend on X,
And
Y,
so,
Z.
yeah, and maybe you have it cash.
Yeah, and maybe you have a cash. So
Mm-hmm.
when that's up,
That's it.
yeah, that's it.
That's
and
it.
you dip it to the other account, you know you're instantly foul. You know something wrong.
Right. And then you can approach it versus people decide to stay married, but really you're not married because everything is separate. And that's, so that's like, we always talk about living your truth in marriage versus just like, we're married, but, we in separate rooms for 30 years, or we're, you know what I mean? Or I earn my money, they earn their money. Like, that's just a very together but separate. It's weird. It gets weird. But I think the final and most important, the fifth reason is that, like, we do our money together because it brings favor. And I think, the scripture where two or more gather, like God is in the midst. And that's where, we've talked about this before, but that's where just the favor of God, you want the favor of God on your finances, because we've been able to do more with less. And then there's been times where God has just given us more. You want the favor of God on your marriage, and you have the power to do that with two people on the same page. Like, it's just, yeah. And I'm currently reading Think and Grow Rich, and I read Think and Grow Rich, and now I'm reading Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice. And one of the things that they continue to say is, sorry, man, when you have a deep desire, then anything can come to pass, right? And all this, it's so funny how there's so much scripture that they use, so much scripture even in the book, but and then when two people put their minds on that thing and are headed in that same direction, just the energy that comes from two people being on the same page is so powerful. And so in my mind, I'm like, a lot of times it's hard to find another person that's like-minded with you, but who better than your spouse to bring on board with what it is your goals are and your desires are, especially when it comes to finances. So that is the number one reason, because I know people like to argue so much about this topic. I'm like, it's not even anything to be argued about. It's like, how do you want to see that thing blessed, and how do you want to see your finances, and I'm not saying people who don't do their finances together aren't blessed financially. That's not what I'm saying. But you'll be surprised at the wisdom that comes behind doing it together. And then you're in a team environment when you're deciding these things. Where should we put here? So, you might think of an idea I don't think of. Or you might think of an expense that's coming up that I don't think of. Or...
That's true.
I don't know. It's just so much power in it, because I don't know why you would want to be, as an individual, just there doing your own finances. And then... what I love about our marriage is, like, even when there has been times where I haven't worked and I've been at home with the kids, you never made me feel like, oh, I'm gonna let you hold $5 real quick. Like, you just didn't do that, and I appreciate that. And I feel like I wouldn't do that to you. And I feel like as God blesses me and, like, our business and stuff like that, the audacity of me to fix my mouth and be like, no, you can't. You can't hold $300. Like, what? You know what I mean? Like, you kept a roof over my head all these years. Surely, I don't know. Team versus me is so important. I think now people want to hold on to the old school, like, idea of marriage, but now hold on to, like, just the ways of marriage, if that makes sense. Like, everybody wants to be married and walk down the aisle, but nobody wants to let go of their selfish ambitions and work as a team.
Yeah.
And that's so interesting to me.
It's another level of vulnerability.
What do you mean by that? With money, even with finances, you feel like it's why?
Yeah, so if we join accounts,
if
I got a spending habit, then I don't want nobody else to know. Or if I love Brahms ice cream, I go to Brahms ice cream every night. You know what I mean? It's like the spouse is gonna know, or they at least gonna know, like, bro, you spend $100 a month or $100 a week on
ice cream,
or whatever place it is. On the bank account, it's like, what's blah 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 on the account, and
it's another level of accountability. So vulnerability, like letting the person in, but accountability, like allowing someone to speak into your life and say, like, this is a problem, this is, but it's worth it. It is uncomfortable. Well, what's also uncomfortable is living in a house with somebody that you cannot stand because you're pissed because they put you in a certain financial situation, or you're mad because you can't achieve the goals you want to achieve financially because y'all not on the same page. That's also very uncomfortable. So I'd rather choose the first option and just have the uncomfortable conversations, like, I have an Amazon problem, hold me accountable. You know what I mean? Like, have the conversation from the jump. But that's just how we do it. Again, I don't know. I want to know your thoughts. How do you do your money? What's been helpful? I just want to share this with people because there's enough people out there sharing nonsense. And so I'm like, surely there's space on the internets for this conversation.
I had a thought too.
Yes.
You might lead us on, and I don't know if you want to.
Share with the people.
You know how, like, people be like, I like music. Alright. But you know how people be like driving, blasting they like super ratchet music? I'm gonna blast my worship music. Is that ratchet too?
I just don't know what it has to do with the video.
It don't, but I don't know what you were saying made me think of that.
Oh, because I was like, people share enough foolishness on the internet.
Yeah, so I'm a yeah.
I think that since we're talking about it, I think it's disrespectful. I don't want to hear nobody's music that loudly.
That's fair.
I just think it's an invasion of personal space.
The privacy.
No, just like I want to be in my car. I don't want your music in my car.
What if it's uplifting?
I don't want to be uplifted by somebody else's music.
Alright.
I want to be uplifted by my choice of music.
That's cool.
So what'd you decide?
I don't know. I'm still on the fence.
Okay. Bye, y'all. Love y'all.